Hi everyone, I'm Natalie from My Progression, and this video is about lesson planning. Wait, I wasn't done yet. You may be thinking, wow, that is a meaty topic. How can you possibly fit that into a 10-minute video? Well, you can't. So this will be the first in a series. This video is all about falling in love with your lesson planning and creating plans that get you excited about delivering them. Cue the intro. I'd be very surprised if any qualified teacher watching this video didn't understand the importance of planning their lessons. But with the ever-increasing workload, settling for a tried and tested old favourite, last year's plans, or scribbling a quick lesson structure is understandable. But planning, engaging, thought-provoking lessons will allow you to get your creative juices flowing and keep your passion for teaching alive. So where do we start? Interestingly, the framework set out by Ofsted on lesson planning is pretty vague. All that's specified is that teachers plan effectively using clear objectives that children understand. Helpful! This can leave a lot up to interpretation, which isn't great if you're not sure where to start, but also it gives you the freedom to get creative. Different schools and settings will have different expectations, so you need to plan for your environment. If you're starting a new role in a new setting, the first thing you need to do is find out what resources you have access to and what type of equipment you'll be working with. The next part of this video will focus on the 6 stages of lesson planning, all of which will offer you tips and examples of how to plan engaging lessons without breaking too much of a sweat. What are the learning objectives? Identify what you want the outcomes to be before you start thinking about the content. What's expected of the students in your class? Are they working towards exams at the end of the year? Do you have a strict curriculum to follow? Or are you able to be more creative? The majority of this will depend on the key stage and year group you're teaching. As if you're planning a lesson for a year 10 class, it's likely to prepare them for their exams or their coursework. Regardless of what they are, knowing your outcomes is absolutely crucial for planning your lessons. Now, when I'm planning my sessions, I can get this wrong. I'll sometimes start with an activity or a concept that I like and not always think about what I want to achieve or the reason behind the training. So I can say from experience, this won't get you anywhere. One way to ensure your lesson stays on track and to help you check comprehension at the end is to have the key objectives written on the board and explain to the students what's expected of them at the beginning of the lesson. The objectives need to be clearly stated, linked to the progress of each student, and achievable in a set time. An objective shouldn't contain the words to know or to understand. They should use active verbs such as state, describe, or explain. You need to use verbs that are easily measurable. An example of a learning objective. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to describe the process of photosynthesis. Plan the learning activities. What type of activities will allow your students to develop their skills and knowledge? Think about how to keep the activities engaging through things like games, debates, case studies, and quizzes. Students are more likely to retain information when they're asked to interact with the material. This can be done in a variety of different ways. Present a problem to the students that they have to solve. You could use visual aids and handouts with areas to fill in. Quiz questions can be useful to cement ideas and test comprehension. If using computers or tablets, interactive games where they can compete or work together to solve a problem. A formal discussion where the students can share their thoughts and responses to the material. A case study where you present a fictional or true story to detail the principles of the lesson in real life. Remember, you can have mini activities throughout the lesson to maximise engagement. Organising a lesson with teach, task will keep the pace of the lesson interesting. Did you know that My Progression have created CPD certificates to allow you to prove your knowledge? Keeping with the theme of maximising engagement, next we have organise the lesson to maximise engagement. Robert Garnier's 9 events of instruction is useful for planning the sequence of your lesson. For anyone watching who isn't familiar with Garnier, he was an American educational psychologist best known for his work on the conditions of learning. Garnier suggested 9 events of instruction that may enhance student learning. These 9 events have since been tried and tested with very successful results. 1. Gain the attention of the students. If you don't gain the attention of the class, then no matter how good the content is, they won't hear it. You should provide a stimulus to capture their attention. This could be a YouTube clip, reference something currently trending, propose a thought-provoking question, or even an icebreaker. 2. Inform students of the objectives. I already mentioned this earlier in the video, but letting them know what you want them to walk out of the classroom with is really helpful. 3. Stimulate recall of prior learning. Help your pupils make sense of new concepts by relating it back to something they've already learned or experienced. 4. Present the content. Use different strategies to present the information as detailed earlier in the learning activities. 5. Provide learning guidance. Help your students learn how to learn. Provide them with strategies and scaffolding to help them with their memory and understanding. This could be with mnemonic devices, relating the material to real-life examples, visual associations, metaphors, the list goes on. If you have any tips on scaffolding and learning strategies, please share them in the comments below. And whilst you're there, like and subscribe to keep seeing more from my progression. 6. Elicit performance and practice. Practice makes perfect. When you put something you've just learned into practice, you'll be more likely to cement that knowledge into your head. You can also use these opportunities to correct understanding of the concept. Quizzes and tests will allow you to check comprehension. 7. Provide feedback. If you're not giving your students feedback, then they might be completely missing the mark and be completely unaware of it. 8. Assess performance. Have your clearly worded learning objectives been met? You could use assessments to check the understanding or have the students perform a task to demonstrate their comprehension. A simple, "Does everyone understand this?" isn't quite good enough. You need to be sure they're still with you. Implement a variety of assessment methods to provide students with multiple opportunities to demonstrate their understanding. 9. Enhance retention and transfer. Help your students retain more information by providing them opportunities to connect their learning to potential real-world applications. Relate new concepts to previous material and avoid isolating new information. Plan to assess student understanding. This allows you to find out whether your students are taking in the content. All assessments need to be carefully placed to ensure they have enough time to get to grips with new concepts. Some of you will have your Assessment for Learning AFL questions to hand. What's the best way to use this? Research shows that on average, teachers only wait 0.9 seconds after asking a question before taking an answer from a student. Studies have suggested that increasing to 3 seconds improves the quality of answers. One strategy to extend this wait time is to have all the students write their answer down before having them all hold it up. You can clearly see who's getting this right and who may need a little extra support. It's also important to provide feedback as you go along. Some examples of the type of feedback you may provide to your students. Confirmatory feedback. This informs the student they did what they were supposed to do. This type of feedback doesn't tell the student what they need to improve, but it's encouraging. Remedial feedback. This directs students to find the correct answer, but does not provide the correct answer. For example, that isn't the correct use of oxymoron. Check through the workbook, see if you can find the correct definition. Descriptive or analytic feedback provides the students with suggestions, directives, and information to help them improve their performance. Create a realistic timeline. Don't try and do too much. Identify 2 or 3 key concepts that you want your students to learn per lesson. Think about how much time each one of your activities will take, and then add in an extra little bit of time for each. Allow a few minutes at the end of the class to answer any remaining questions and sum up key points. What's better, over-planning or under-planning? Over-planning is definitely better. If your teaching is so effective and the students are running ahead of time, you need to have something else to teach them to get them engaged. Always plan an extra discussion point or activity. Just be sure that any additional tasks set still support the learning objective. Plan for a lesson closure. I think it goes without saying you shouldn't end a lesson by introducing a new concept. You should close your lesson with a summary of what they've learnt, assess their level of comprehension, and correct any misunderstanding. You might even want to signpost what's coming up in your next lesson. A good way to end a lesson is a call to action, which could be homework or putting what they've learned into practice. Now, this won't be possible in all topics. I'm thinking back to dissecting a heart in biology. Don't try that at home. But some subjects will lend themselves to practical application, like spotting contractions in conversations or using long division. By instructing your class to continue thinking about the material, you're more likely to see the retention of knowledge. These 6 stages of lesson planning will assist you with planning creative and thought-provoking lessons that you'll be excited to deliver. See the description below for a lesson plan outline. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is just a small part of lesson planning. Look out for some upcoming videos on planning for supply, planning for behaviour, intervention, and differentiation. I've been Natalie from My Progression, and if you found this video has helped you love your lesson planning, then check out the rest of our channel for more videos on working in education. And let's keep your career in motion.